Neville Douglas. It is the 15th of April 2014. On Facebook I've been posting boards that I've been working on as part of one of my university modules in relation to space study and the analysis of space and choosing a site. A lot of the work is based on this guy's work, which is Gordon Cullen, and it's a very, very interesting book. It's called The Concise Townscape. So I'm going to talk to you about the boards that I've been putting on Facebook. I haven't got all of them with me. I have got quite a few to get through, so I'm going to just work my way through it and explain to you the processes that I'm looking at. So I'm just going to put this book. So basically, when you start, you'll probably be given a site to look at, or you might be looking at a site for yourself. So you might decide that you want to go to a particular area and you want to choose a site in a particular area, and you might want to develop in that particular area, or that area is being regenerated and you're not quite sure what's going to work in that area. So you might be looking at two things. You might be looking at a particular area, or you might be looking at the buildings that go into that area, or one particular building that goes into that area. Now, architects would usually do this. They would go around, have a look at the site, and they would feed back to you from this process. And I'm not saying that all architectural practices do it or should do that. I'm just telling you how I've been taught. I'm not saying I'm an architect, because I'm not. But having said that, you know, I'm getting used to looking at commercial sites, assessing sites, and looking at the commercial value, working way through all of the calculations and the figures and everything else to make a site, to develop a site, and to make a profit. Now, I haven't done it yet. I'm just going through the processes and the theory behind it, but that's what I'm looking to do. I am a property investor and a property trader as well. So I come from that background where I'm investing in property and I trade properties anyway. So the next step for me is going to be looking at sites, using the processes I'm going to talk through with you now, and then developing that site at a later date, and bringing finance together and going and looking at. So what we have here, this is a site in Liverpool. It's called the Baltic Triangle, okay? And we're not looking at developing the whole site. We're just going to look at a little bit down here, which is, it is called Watkinson Street. You can't see that obviously, and Bridgewater Street. So there's a small building there. I've actually been to this site and looked at this site. So what we're doing is we're going to develop a site around here, okay? And it goes on to St James Street. This is in Liverpool, by the way. And the site is in between Bridgewater Street and Watkins Street. So what we did was we decided, or the lecturers decided, that they were going to give us one of these sites to look at. So before we went and we looked at the site, we went around the area and we looked at the area as a whole to see what should be in the area, what the architectural styles were in the area, what the colour palette was for the area, and what, you know, style of building would be suitable in that area. On top of that, what you need to do is ensure that you check with your local councils that you can actually build in that area, and what you're proposing is permissible in that area. So taking all those things and assuming that you've checked for all those things, the next thing is to go around the site and take photographs. So I haven't got all of the boards with me, so I'm going to show you some of the stuff which is missing off the boards in this as well. So once you've decided on the site, what you need to do is to go to the site and visit the site. Like I said to you before, you need to look at the architectural features. So this is the site itself. Excuse me. This is the area of the site, and what we looked at there, and it's called the Baltic Triangle actually. So this is in Liverpool. We looked at the architectural styles. Okay. So we looked at the different types of buildings and the different buildings which are being used at the moment, and that's what you need to do. So when you do design a building to go in a particular area, you know that the building is going to be suited to the area, that the architectural style is not going to be so extreme unless you're doing something quite contemporary, that it's going to be so extreme that it won't fit in with the area. Down there is a colour palette, so this is looking at the materials that you can gain, obviously the materials in the area, in the vicinity where you're looking, and using this colour palette will help you to decide and to choose the materials which complement or contrast with the different materials which are already on site. So that's one of the things. The next thing is a study of what's known as the urban solids. Okay, so that's the buildings that are in the area at the moment. You also need to look at the voids, which is the opposite of the solids. So as you can see there, that's where this is where it's really highly built up. These are the open areas here. These are once again what's known as the solids, sorry, the voids. You've got the solids there, and obviously, you know, we've got our site on this location as well. So I'll take you back to the drawing so you can have a look at that. You have to bear in mind that there's someone here. The next step to think looking at there is what's known as the legibility analysis. Now, the legibility analysis is basically the way that people navigate around the site. So when someone goes into a particular area, it's like if you think of your favourite town, wherever you live and work, you navigate around that town, and that there would be known as a path. You've got the green bits, which are there, which is known as a path. Then you've got your edge, which you use to navigate by. Then you've got your landmark, which are your large landmarks there, and your nodes, and that's the direction that you tend to head off in. So you get to that point there, and you say, okay, this is where I'm going to go. So you're looking at all these things, bearing in mind that we're going to be putting a building around this area here. So you need to ensure what is being used at the moment, what is going to be used, how people navigate, and because obviously what you want is that when people go into the area, they'll be able to navigate through that area and they will be comfortable. And also you need to know that once you've chosen an area, that you're actually going to get people that are going to be walking past. So you need to analyse whether or not you've got people walking past that area down. So, you know, I'm not going to go through everything, but if you go back to the boards, you can have a look at this and you can see what I'm talking about in regards to breaking the area down. So you've got a good idea of what's in the area, what's going to work in the area. You've got a breakdown of the residential use, the commercial use, and so you've got an idea. You can start to formulate an idea of what you want to put in there. Now, I came up with the idea of doing residential and commercial because it is still a good residential and commercial area. There is a lot of arts and crafts going on in that area as well, a lot of young people, a lot of fusion foods are being cooked in that area as well. So I just thought, okay, something that can cater for the fusion foods, for the residential, so that people can actually cook, go to that area, buy fresh bread there. There are bakeries there, so there's a lot of crafts, art and crafts going on in that particular area. So these are the things that you need to know about as well in regards to the building and the use that you're going to have of the building. The next stage then is design. Okay, so for me, I wanted a building that I thought would fit into the area as a starting point. So I thought Yin and Yang, Jamaica Street in Liverpool and around that area. Well, I'm sure you know what it was famous for hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and I just thought to myself, it's something which is I draw on my cultural heritage, and so I thought to myself, Yin and Yang, but also from the cultural African side, which is Ghana. I thought I would incorporate some of that because I'm sure there have been Ghanaians there centuries and centuries ago. So what I looked at there was basically, it was a building in Copenhagen which was semicircular. I also looked at the Yin and Yang and thought, how can I work that into the design as well? Because what we're looking for is, this is a design process, okay? So we're not just thinking about the practicalities, we're looking at the design, how the building looks and how it will work, and whether or not someone will want to work in that building, live in that building and eat in that building. So you could just put a square block up, but we decided to go for something else. It's an unusual shaped site as well, and I will for the site. So initially with my sketches there, I don't know if you can see that, but I put the Yin and Yang, so I've incorporated it there. I was looking at a building, a tree house, which had a bit of a curve to it as well, so I thought I would use that curve. On top of that as well, I looked at the Ghanaian drum. So those lines there are going down there, so I thought about vertical solar shading on the panel, or on the building, sorry, because the vertical solar shading would have PV cells on so that it would generate electricity. I'll tell you what that's going to be for later on. And so I came up with the restaurant design at the top. I haven't done the interior, that's changed slightly, and that has also changed again. So what we looked at, the concept sketches and the development of those sketches. So the next stage from there was to look at, once again, the building. So I drew it out. I'm going back a stage further with the other boards that I showed you before. There was about 2 other boards, and that covered the movement of traffic, so you need to go back and check the movement of traffic as well, and also the movement of people within that area. So you need to find out your primary, your secondary and your tertiary routes. So that's 3 routes that you need to find out, so that you know that the building or whatever it is that you're going to put in that particular area, even if it's a car park, you need to know that once the vehicles or whatever it is go into that area, that building is going to be utilised. I'm sure you've seen examples of where buildings have been put in particular places and no one seems to go and visit them. I've seen a car park poster. So coming back to this, what we then looked at was that one there, which is the wind pattern. Okay, so it shows that primarily the wind is coming from the west, because this site is near to the coast of Liverpool. So what we wanted to do, or near to the Liverpool docks, I'm sorry, what we wanted to do was ensure that the residents sit on the roof terrace are going to be protected. So that was the other thing that had to be considered. Do an environmental study in the sense that you need to ensure that there are no contaminants on the ground, so you'd need to get a company that would look into that. But from the design point of view, what I was talking about was an environmental study, so you'd look into the rainfall patterns and everything else, because you can utilise that as well, and also how much sun is going to be on the building. Now, I did a sun path study, which you can do on Google Earth if you do Google sun path. This building, the sun is going to come from this direction and it's going to work its way around, so the whole of this facade is going to be heated and it's going to be warm, so you need some sort of shading on there. So that's when I went down to here and started to look at the shading that I was going to put on there, and I decided to go for the vertical shading. On top of that, I drew the building into the site itself so I could get an idea of how it would look on the site. The bottom bit down there is to do with sea cooling. You've got PV panels there, which I talked about before, which are going to go onto there, onto the vertical solar shading. Now, what I proposed is to use seawater cooling, because we're quite close to the Queen's dock in Liverpool, and so they could draw the water from there. That would go into the building and help to cool the building.